Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's Sunday night and it is time for another live stream. Tonight we are going to be talking about the new TBS Chapito. I have it here. I've been flying it in the last 2 hours, so I'm going to share some thoughts on that. A couple of videos coming on that as well. We're going to be talking about some leaks about the new Caddx FPV system, which has been brought to us by Stu over at UAV Futures, but also via his website, which is DIY FPV, which we're going to talk about. The things that man will do to get some promotion on his website. He has to go travel to China and steal secrets from Caddx just to promote his website. What a shocking state of events. We're going to talk about INAV a little bit, and we're going to talk about anything else that comes up along the way as well. However, before we get into this, I want to start by issuing a correction, but also just stating something with regards to a review I recently made. Let's just check this works. That does work, but that doesn't. So there we go. I'm back on. Let me just get myself in the right position. Okay. So, I went loud then. Sorry. HDZero recently released their Halo ESC, which was available in 2 versions. An AM32 version and also a BL Heli 32 version. Now, what was rather exciting about this was the fact that this was the first BL Heli ESC that we had seen since all of this mess had happened that appeared to be fully legitimate. Now, what I mean by this when I say fully legitimate is we have seen a number of manufacturers release ESCs using test versions of BL Heli 32. Usually these are labelled either a test version or they have the part number 31.9 or 31.10 for the firmware, and to be able to use them you are required to use the specific test activator version of the configurator. Manufacturers who've done this have been iFlight, GEP-RC, as well as Sequoia, and those ESCs all shipped with these test versions of BL Heli 32 that didn't work with the public configurator and were clearly not public release firmware. Now, my stance around those ESCs has been very simple. I have not endorsed those ESCs or those products, and I have not recommended them. That hasn't stopped me reviewing products from those manufacturers, but I wouldn't order one in just to review with that firmware on it. But if a manufacturer sent me one with that firmware on it, I would continue the review, but state I couldn't recommend the product based on it using illegitimate firmware, like I did with the GEP Cinelog 30, I think it was, I reviewed, and one of the iFlight quads as well. I made it very clear in the review that I thought the quad was good. However, due to the fact they were shipping it with what I believe to be illegitimate firmware, or at least not official firmware, I couldn't recommend the product. But if you wanted to buy it, that was down to you. With the release of the BL Heli 32 version of the HDZero Halo ESC, things were different. This ESC comes with a version of BL Heli 32, which is BL Heli 32.10. It is not labelled a test version. It works with the public available configurator, and by every single measure that there is, the software on this ESC appears to be fully legitimate. Before this ESC released, I spoke to Carl about this situation extensively, asking him what was going on, why have we now got his ESC with BL Heli 32, and Carl had shared with me, as he has shared publicly, that he is buying the ESC MCUs from his manufacturer that are pre-flashed, and he fully believes that they are legitimate. It now turns out that that is not the case, or at least it appears it's not the case. based on the fact that BL Heli 32 have made an update on their GitHub page that says no licenses have been issued since they shut BL Heli 32 down. Now, what this means is no new firmware could have been licensed as a result of them saying no licenses have been issued since that time. Now, this obviously puts things up in the air with the HDZero ESC, and Ryan over at HDZero has released a statement which they've put up on the HDZero website and the HDZero Discord, which says we want to be transparent with our community. We purchased pre-flashed ESC MCUs under the full understanding and brief that they were legitimate. Learning otherwise has been deeply disappointing and we feel betrayed by our suppliers. Because of this, they will no longer be producing any ESCs running BL Heli 32 firmware. So basically, HDZero have said they're going to stop production of that ESC moving forward. Now, this puts people like me in a bit of a difficult position because I did a review on this ESC where we talked about both the AM32 and the BL Heli 32. And my stance has always been I will not openly endorse products being sold with illegitimate firmware. There is a fundamental difference between a user cracking a piece of software to use illegitimately themselves or a business selling a product with illegitimate firmware. So, for instance, I absolutely have no problems with someone who used to do mod chips, might have done that myself, for Xboxes, consoles, stuff like that. But if a manufacturer was selling one with it, that isn't acceptable. And that was my stance, and that remains my stance today. So as of now, I do not recommend anyone purchases the BL Heli 32 version of the HDZero ESC. I cannot endorse that ESC because it is being supplied with illegitimate firmware. Now, there is so much more I could say about this. There has been rumblings about this in the background for some time, but the reality is this. I have to deal with facts, and the facts are that the firmware on this ESC appears fully legitimate. It is completely different to any other version that we have seen in the past. It is completely different to the test versions. In every way, it looks fully legitimate. And whilst there is a belief in the background that someone has hacked BL Heli 32 completely and is now selling it outside of BL Heli 32, the fact of the matter is the data we have to look at this ESC is if you test it compared to a legitimate one, it appears legitimate, and we now only know that it can't be as a result of BL Heli updating their website. They had not made a public statement about this. They have not come out and said HDZero are selling illegitimate ESCs or others are. All they have done is quietly added this section to the bottom of their website. So, it's a mess. I don't like it one little bit. I don't believe for 1 minute Carl was doing this intentionally. And I think I said this on my Discord, and now I will... Whether I get myself into trouble or not is another question. But look, there are only 2 or 3 ways a situation like this could go. They're told something by their supplier and they accept that. They went, we don't think it's legitimate, but fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. Or they thought, well, it might be sus, let's see what happens. I don't believe for 1 minute Carl is the kind of guy to say, fuck it, let's do it anyway. My belief is in every conversation I had with Carl is that they were buying legitimately flashed microcontrollers. For all we knew, this was a new way BL Heli found to distribute their ESC firmware rather than selling it themselves. Someone has said here, could they be harvesting MCUs from batches of unsold ESCs? Yes and no. Remember, the ESC ships with a target we haven't seen before, so that would imply it is new or at least modified firmware. What is interesting in this situation is if this had just been an ESC that had been manufactured in the past and stopped and reappeared again, no one would have even noticed. The only reason we really noticed this is because it's a new ESC with a new target. If, I don't know, T-Motor, Foxeer had simply put one of their older ESCs that they used to sell with BL Heli 32 back in production with this on, we would never have noticed. Most people would have just assumed it was old stock, because why would you assume that it's been completely hacked? There are also some real questions about this apparent hacked BL Heli 32 because we've not seen it on any other manufacturer as far as I know. There still really is no proof that this exists other than this ESC. There's no data to go, look, if you look at this, this proves it's hacked or that proves it's hacked. In every way, it looks legitimate. And that is the only baseline creators like me can use to test stuff. And there has been some criticism of, well, why was everyone promoting these when it was clearly or obviously not legitimate? I take complete umbrage with the fact that it was clearly and was always going to be legitimate. Facts showed that it behaved exactly like all known legitimate ESCs. There were no other ESCs known on the market doing this, and it worked with the public versions of the configurators, and it was labelled the correct versions, and everything about it behaved the same as a legitimate one. So that's all we can do, is test it in that manner. We have to deal with facts. We can't just sit here and go, well, I've heard a rumour it's not legit. Rumours don't cut it. We deal in facts. If someone had provided the evidence to show how it had been hacked, then that's a different situation. But that still has not happened today. So that is the situation. My stance is you shouldn't buy the BL Heli 32 ESC. There is technically nothing wrong with it, but you shouldn't buy it because it's not using legitimate firmware. I am disappointed, and the only thing I will say is I think there is no question that more due diligence should have been done on this in the background from a HDZero side. I think that's a fair comment to make. But for me, it doesn't change the fact that I still think HDZero is a great brand. They make great products. They support open source. Carl is not the kind of guy to go out and do this intentionally to screw someone over. So that's the situation with that. I didn't want this rolling on too far into the stream. I'm just going to get the chat back up now, and my cup of tea has arrived just in time. There we go. There is obviously with ESCs other stuff appearing on the market right now as well. You've got this OX32, if anyone has seen this. This is a bit suspicious to me, if I'm honest. It is another closed source ESC firmware, which you're starting to see. OX32 Oxbot. The website has alarm bells all over it, if I'm honest with you. There's no proper contact details. It says contact us, which is just an email address. There's no address. The warranty policy, all of this seems a little bit sus, but they have a stack where they say, you know, when you go OX32 is a 32-bit firmware optimized specifically for race drones, offering efficient motor control, precise response, and intelligent tuning. Developed after the discontinuation of BL Heli 32, OX32 continues to refine motor control strategies based on the needs of racing pilots. look, I don't know what this is about. I generally don't. It's a little bit weird. What I don't quite understand and why we're in this situation is obviously AM32 wasn't where everyone wanted it when the BL Heli 32 crash happened. What's though disappointing is why more effort hasn't been put into either getting AM32 where it is, and I don't mean that from the AM32 dev team. What I mean by effort is everyone pile in to push that forward, and why we're seeing so many closed source solutions. Whether it's a money grab attempt, I don't know. I'm even shocked that we've not had forks of AM32. Like we saw, you know, Beta Flight is a fork of Clean Flight, which is a fork of... All of these go back. You know, iNav's a fork of Beta. What I don't quite get is why we haven't seen a real push into taking the open source and drive it forward. And if someone doesn't like how AM32 is behaving, then why aren't they forking AM32 and going, hey, we've done all of this and we think our version's better, or we think this is better. There is no question that there is still a feeling, especially in the race community, that AM32 doesn't give them the same performance as BL Heli 32. That's a feeling that there seems to be out there. Whether it's placebo, whether it's correct or not, I don't know. Can you do a breakdown of the difference? Oh, that's going to take some doing. No, it's way too complicated to do. It's fundamentally how they behave. Yeah, the very basics I was told by someone, you got to take into account ESC firmware, and I think, where's your timing is perfect. ESC is incredibly difficult. Don't think this is easy. It's not. Motor control and this kind of firmware is not easy and simple to do. What I was told by someone who has a huge amount of experience in robotics and this area, and I'm trying to think of the term, is that BL Heli 32 has a huge amount of filtering baked into it that really does take out a lot of the crap that some users struggle with. And AM32 is a lot more raw, which isn't bad because AM32 is basically getting you to fix your own problems. Whereas BL Heli 32 will naturally make up for a lot of issues by itself. And that filtering takes out a lot of the problems people have had. But what that can result in is a difference in out-the-box experience. And if you get a guy who tries AM32 and a guy who tries BL Heli 32, and he instantly thinks, oh, BL Heli 32 flies better, even though the reason it flies better is because it's filtering out the problem with his quad, if he retuned his quad properly, it would behave the same, but out the box, he doesn't need to. Therefore, the opinion is it works better. And it's not even as simple as that. I'm not remotely knowledgeable enough to give you a breakdown of the differences. But that is something that was fed to me, which is BL Heli 32 is tuned and filtered to deliver a better result for the end user out the box. There is a lot of filtering, glitch filters, reacting to voltage, etc. It took forever to get D-Shot 2 to work with KISS. Yeah, exactly. There is a lot. And it is years old. And just take this into account. BL Heli 32 is years old. And it's seen such a big adoption. It was able to tune itself really well across a very wide range of aircraft types. I even know some guys who do very big cine lifter builds who were absolutely devastated when BL Heli 32 went, because it works really well on big cine lifters. So yeah, it's and look, someone just said that Alka is doing his best. Absolutely. And look, I don't want this to be a criticism. This is not a criticism of AM32. The criticism I have of AM32 is why, and it's not of AM32, is why we're seeing all of this work going elsewhere and not into AM32. That's my criticism. It's not of the project, it's around everyone else. Stop fucking around and put the effort. If everyone puts their effort on AM32, it could get to where BL Heli 32 is. And that's not to say it isn't there for many things today. And that's the problem. And it is a strange one, you know, and it's not just about AM32. I should mention Escape 32 exists as well. And don't get me wrong, I take the Voltara ESC. I think that ESC is phenomenal. I like that ESC. It works really well. I love that product. But I'd like to see the manufacturers, not the small players, but iFlight and everyone else, really, all of the biggies really put a lot of push behind it and a lot of money behind it as well. And that's the reality, you know. And this ain't easy. Wes, are you there? What's the term I miss? I'm trying to think. What is the term for dev on an ESC? It's a kind of I can't remember. There's a term for the kind of thing, the motor control. There's a term for it, and I can't think what it is. BLC, BLDC. No, it's just a general term for the kind of Arduino, for the kind of robot. It's not robotics, control theory, but there's a term for it. It's not machine control. It's something I can't remember. It'll probably come to me in the stream. But look, my criticism is not about AM32. No, it's not attenuation. It's the kind of you're going two things. There's an overall term for what motor that this kind of programming is in. So think of like avionics is a term. It's embedded. I know it's embedded. It's not that. It'll come to me. It'll come to me after the stream probably. FOC. No. It's an overall term. Like avionics is a term. It's not automation. No. It's a technical term for the kind of control of motors and that kind of thing. But it'll come to me. ChatGPT. Yeah, look, and it's, you know, you are working sinusoidal. No, that's the term. You're too deep at that point. You're too deep. So look, that's where we're at. That's the HDZero thing. It is what it is. Right. I'm going. Yeah, it's that type of thing, John Goblin, but there's a term for it, and it's been used for me before, and I can't. And it's like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. There's a term for motor control. I don't know. Don't worry about it. So okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Caddx. Now, for quite some time, there has been. I'm not going to say leaks. Caddx put out press about their upcoming new product, which is going to be called Ascent, and it's been very quiet for quite a while, but it does feel like we are now getting towards a point where this new product is going to release. Now, what we know so far is this isn't a replacement for Avatar 2. This new product is a complementary product, a new FPV product for beginners, but also racers, and they intend to develop it over time. Now, this week, there has been some big leaks around this from Stu over at UAV Futures. If you don't know who Stu is, he has obviously one of the biggest FPV channels in YouTube. I spoke about this very briefly last week because Stu was going live after me, and wasn't for me to sort of gazump him, but he messaged me and said I'm okay to talk about the stuff he's published, so I'm going to do that here today. And Stu has been publishing stuff on his website, and for those who don't know what it is, it's DIY FPV. It is his website where it has all sorts of stuff on it. He announced this quite some time ago, and he's been continuing to work on it. It's got some dashboard with his discussions. You've got the catalog part where you can start looking through FPV equipment. It gives you pricing. So for instance, you can go down, click on this flight controller. It'll give you a list of websites with pricing on it. It'll tell you if it's in stock or not, which is really cool. You can then go under Marketplace, which is where people can list used hardware for sale as well. But you've also got his FPV builder, and he's got a great video on this as well, where you've got the interactive drone builder, where you can actually start to build up your drone via the builder. I haven't been on here for a while, so I did use it, and then I haven't used it since. And this is available for you to share. Have I got to log in to use this, Stu? Because I'm not registered on here at the second. I'm not logged in. So I probably need to log in to show it. He's then got a map as well, which you can register for if you share on there. Now, we'll come back to the rest of this stuff in a minute, but I want to talk about the leaks because Stu has been posting some stuff. He has a few posts. First of all, showing some images of the new boards. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these images out of here to be able to zoom in and show them. But if you want to see these, please do check out Stu's website. Although I'm going to hop out of Stu's website, it makes life a little bit easier. We will be showing it in a minute. But he's put this post up, which has some pictures of the boards in more detail. There's some leaked specifications and detail. And then there's some information around goggles as well. And he's got these posts on his site. Now, what I'm going to do is hop up here to show you these from the beginning, because I can zoom in on these images here a bit easier than I can on Stu's site. Although I'm not sure you'd know where they've come from. He only put a... Stu, next time, put a big logo on. No one will know whose website these images came from. It's only a little logo. Come on, you know, you need to make sure it's big enough so everyone can read it. As I said last week, I really am an asshole. So anyway, look, the first thing we've got is a picture of the top board. Now, from this side, it does give us some interesting details. This is the new board. We don't know what mounting pattern that is. Is that 20 by 20, 25 by 25, 30 by 30? We don't know. We can see we've got a big connector up here, so this is going to be our main power input connector. We've got an IC, which is unlabeled. That is a flash chip. I can tell you now that is a Wimbond flash chip. Not sure what that is, because it doesn't look like power regulation. This up here is definitely power regulation. Looking at it, I think it's power regulation. You've got some big capacitors, some coils around it as well. Bit more power regulation up here too. Now, that doesn't really give us any details on the chipset. We don't know what it is at this point. What I will say, though, is Caddx have openly said this is not based on OpenIPC. It is not OpenIPC. It is their own in-house developed system, although that doesn't mean it isn't an off-the-shelf chipset that they've developed around. There is, though, some interesting stuff that we'll see in some of the other specification that does hint this is quite custom. You can then see this image, which shows us the other side of the board. This, again, is quite important because this image allows us to see a bit more. Why won't that image zoom in? That one really does not want to zoom in. Let's do that. Now I'll zoom in. What you can see on this is that there is another chipset on this side of the board. You can now see the bind button, power amplifier, and UFL antenna connection, MIPI connection. This does hint. Yes, PLC, programmable logic. This does hint it is a very small board. What is very, very interesting here is I'm not seeing a MUX chip on this side of the board. So here's the power amplifier. You can actually see it appears the RF lane is going up there towards this chipset. So this is either something based around Wi-Fi or it is something else. And the specification would hint it's something else. But if you look at the package, it's not BGA, that's for sure. It's some form of QFN type package. There is another chip here, but I can't quite see it. But from a circuit design perspective and an RF perspective, it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, alongside this, we obviously have a picture of the camera as well, which doesn't really tell us a lot. You can go down and you can see it there. No chipset on the back, just screwed in. Looks like one of the smaller cameras. Pretty straightforward. But look, this board does look very interesting. Windbond flash. There's some form of controller on this side. More chipset here. And then on the other board, we've got another chipset and through. Alongside this, there was then also some leaked information, which is this, which says why develop the Ascent system. The original chip performance, heat and production capacity and other factors. So we redesigned the chip, optimized the underlying logic, and delivered a future-orientated system that is compatible with entry-level racing and photography needs. The original chip performance, heat and production capacity, and other factors. That's interesting because they're talking about their artisan chipset there. Very interesting. Alongside this week, Stu has leaked some more images of the upcoming goggles. Now, these may look very familiar to you. They basically look almost identical, if not identical, to the Goggles L. It looks like Caddx have repurposed the Goggles L for this new system. You can see it says it's got a 4.5-inch screen, all-in-one design with built-in high-grade antennas, just like you had in the other one. SD card in the same place. Nearsighted and farsighted, and sleek LED design. It is literally the same design, the same overall casing as the Goggles L, which makes sense. That do you know what? I think that's interesting. Then there is another image that's been released alongside this, which is the Ascent VTX delivers crystal clear, low latency visuals designed for seamless entry into FPV, digital FPV, 28% better signal penetration than similar drones. Now, my belief is Caddx are also releasing a drone with this in as well. We saw the images of that in the past, so it looks like it's going to be an FPV system and a drone. They are labeling it as only 6 grams, and it greatly reduces the weight and energy consumption of Protoss. 6 gram, 30 milliseconds low latency, 3 kilometers range, strong signal penetration. 30 milliseconds isn't bad. It's not shocking. You don't need it for race. It's not good enough for racing, but it's all right. So, interesting. Interesting indeed. There has also been a number of things released, some marketing stuff from it as well that Stu had, and I've translated these through Google Translate, so what I'm about to talk about may not be 100% accurate, but what it says is, rise and proclamation refers to the action and process of moving upwards, which means ascent in the new system facing the future, constantly rising and being promoted. By KOLs. Trace refers to tracing back to the origins of the development process, such as the ancient of civilization. Marketing nonsense. Okay. However, Ancient System still belongs to Walksnail, with the full name Walksnail Ascent. It exists alongside the Walksnail Avatar system. So we will have Walksnail Ascent, Walksnail Avatar. What exactly is the Ascent system? It's a professional-grade FPV drone system independently developed by Walksnail, which achieves efficient, low-latency and stable, low-heat generation transmission of FPV drone images. Notice they've mentioned heat a few times. I'm really intrigued. I am really, really intrigued because heat has plagued digital FPV. Absolutely plagued digital. DJI, Avatar HD, HDZero, they are all battling the same problem, which is heat. It will initially support entry-level drones and FPV beginners, giving users other options. However, it runs on completely different chip architecture, and we believe it has huge potential. So what they are saying is it is not running on Artisan. Well, at least their current version. It would appear they've moved away from Artisan, is what this appears. We then also have this one, which is translated, which it says, what are the advantages? Key advantages are high definition and low latency, something operating threshold and stability, and low heat generation. Mentioning heat again. Compatibility with multiple frequency bands and coverage in multiple scenarios. Now, this multiple frequency bands is very interesting. We'll come on to that in a minute. High definition and low latency. It can achieve professional grade high definition image transmission effects of 1080p and 60 frames a second, with its latency as low as 30 milliseconds. 1080p 60 at 30 milliseconds is not bad. That is not terrible. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that's bad. Remember, 60 frames a second. If it's doing 30 milliseconds at 60 frames a second, that is not shocking. And it's easy to operate. Stable and low heat. Again, mentioning heat. Reconstruct underlying logic of the chip and system side. Deeply optimized solving heat problems. Constant talk around heat. Now, this next bit is very, very interesting. Compatible with multiple frequency bands, and I believe it says 1.3 to 7G. That would be 1.3 gigahertz to 7 gigahertz. So this instantly rules out Wi-Fi. Completely rules Wi-Fi out the door. That implies it's some form of, I'm not going to say 100% has to be an SDR, but it is at least customizable and is not baked in hardware of what it can do. That doesn't mean one VTX could do 1.3 to 7 gigahertz. You have to understand the RF front end, your power amplifiers, are limited within their bandwidth. However, what it basically means is the multiplexer on board, the MUX, can do 1.3 to 7 gigs. That is very, very interesting. Covering multiple scenarios, entry level. So this ain't Wi-Fi. This is not OpenIPC. This is nothing like that. I'm intrigued what they're doing, but it certainly isn't those other things. Why develop the Ascent system? Original chip performance, heat, and we've seen that one already. It's fine. And then differences between Walk-Snail Avatar and Walk-Snail Ascent. Currently, Walk-Snail Avatar is digital HD system for professional use, while Walk-Snail Ascent is familiar HD. So obviously that's a Chinese conversion, but new user basic. System for entry-level and general users. Performance of Walk-Snail Ascent series is currently lags behind the Moonlight. So what they're saying is it isn't quite as good as the Moonlight or GT series with the Walk-Snail Avatar. But that could mean DVR recording, range, power, all of these things in one. Why couldn't it be Wi-Fi with variable frequency shifter? You're not putting a variable frequency shifter on that VTX. No, it's not Wi-Fi. It's not Wi-Fi hardware, put it that way. Wi-Fi hardware is basically baked in at the frequency level. It makes no sense to put a frequency shifter on. You're never going to do it on a VTX. Remember, when they're talking about 1.3 to 7 gigahertz, though, that doesn't mean the system will do that. It just means the RF chipset is capable of multiple generations. Remember, to get to 7 gigahertz in the MUX, you have to be able to outmix at 7 gigahertz. You have to get your IF frequency, and then you have to get your baseband, and you get them together, and you're trying to come up with your final frequency from your IF, your intermediates. So they're saying their chipset is capable of generating waveform out at between 1.3 gigs and 7 gigahertz, but you then still need all the accompanying RF front end capable of doing that. You won't find an RF front end capable of transmitting easily on 1.3 to 7 gigs. So if you wanted to change it, you'd have to be changing the power amps, the RF front end stages, but the chipset can generate a waveform over that frequency bandwidth. So IF frequency 1.3 to 7 gigs. I don't believe Caddx will have their own ASIC. I have a suspicion what it might be, but we're going to have to wait and see. But the truth is, they could be leveraging off-the-shelf chipsets that exist out there that can do this. It isn't that chipsets don't exist. This could be something entirely new we've not seen before. This could be something based on a smartphone chipset. I wouldn't be shocked if this was based around a smartphone chip. Genuinely, I wouldn't be shocked. Some Chinese smartphone chip, because that's basically how DJI started. You know, if you actually look at where DJI is today, they started with an off-the-shelf chipset. The lead core LC1860C. Most of the heat from a VTX comes from the SoCs, not the RF. The RF does produce heat, but most of it is all from the main chipsets today. Power management and chipsets. If you take into account, one of the reasons I suspect, right, DJI have moved away from their own chipset in these action cameras is because they're not efficient enough. So again, efficiency is hard. And here's a real interesting one. DJI are using Qualcomm chipsets in their action cameras now. The 360 has a Qualcomm smartphone chipset in it, as does the DJI Action 5. That is because they are incredibly low power chipsets. It's a bit of a hint that even DJI have had to do it in these action cameras. It doesn't matter in an air unit because you've got a big battery on the back of it. 15 watts of power consumption on an air unit is fine. If this thing was drawing 15 or 20 watts, they're screwed. You've got no battery life. And that's the problem they're facing. So look, that is what we know. As I've said, all of this is available on DIY FPV. I will be posting a link to this in the description. You can get to this by going to www.diyfpv.com. That is Stu's website. Please do check it out. I probably need to log in to use the FPV builder. I'm guessing it doesn't let me do it. So I'll need to do that. But please do consider checking it out and supporting Stu for the information. Again, it's a really great site, especially on the catalog stuff when you're trying to buy stuff. So if I wanted to get myself electronics, let's have a look at an ESC. Speedy Bee. Probably all out of stock because I think you can. I don't know. You can get one from Meps King. $75. There you go. So, Tarquin, I've not seen any mention of that. I would suggest if you're unhappy, reach out to them and I would see what they say. What I would expect them to say is return it for a refund if you're not happy. That's what I would have thought they'd say, or they'll swap it for an AM32. What I don't see them doing is just giving people their money back. You got a piece of hardware that still works. You paid for an ESC that works. The ESC works. It's not that the ESC doesn't work. If you don't want to use it anymore, sell it on. There's probably 1 million people who are happy to buy it. There's still lots of people wanting to buy it. Look up DJI Mini 360. Yeah, I think they were fake images. I don't believe they were real images. Yes, smartphones do their LTE within their main SoC, but it's entirely locked down. That's how DJI did it. But they had access to it being not locked down. It is possible Caddx have found something similar. We're going to have to wait and see what Caddx are actually doing. With regards to this Ascent system, it looks incredibly interesting. Now, here's where some of the criticism is going to be. It's a new set of goggles. I do not believe, and let me be crystal clear in what I'm saying, this isn't fact, but the info that was said is there is not going to be a module for the Goggles X for this because it's a different product. It is not Avatar 2. Don't expect to see that happen. Hopefully it behaves well at a minimum standard. It will not work with the Goggles X out the door. I don't believe there will be any support for the Goggles X. They may make a VRX module in the future for it, I guess. But if they do, that could probably get bolted onto the front of the X. But they are selling this as a beginner product right now. And as a result of that, it's aimed towards that, and that's likely why you're seeing the Goggles L. So look, you got to think about this as a parallel product. I think I would have liked to have seen an upgrade board, or at least a module. If they release a VRX, look, a VRX is going to be more. Here's something people didn't take into account with the Goggles X. I've said this before. I said in my review that upgrade board is potentially a load of BS, or at least you shouldn't be relying on it. And I was saying that for one good reason. The module in the Goggles X is also the main OS and system on a chip. Caddx didn't design that top module as just the RF bit. It is everything. So to replace that module is going to be incredibly expensive. That module is probably a cost of a third of the goggles. That module is the VRX module on its own at $200. It's going to be $100, $150 plus. It's probably going to be far better for them to release a VRX module for a product like this. That would make more sense. The Caddx module was always a stupid comment that they should never have made. They should never, ever have promoted that those goggles were upgradable. In my opinion, they should never have done it. Now, they may hold that promise in 5 years, but let's see. But look, it's interesting. As for when, I believe people are getting their hands on this now. I can openly tell you, obviously because of my history with Caddx, they have not sent me one. It is highly unlikely, as in not going to happen. They're going to send me one. I think they're aiming this at new users, so all I can do is buy it when it comes out. So you won't see day one reviews from me, because there won't be a day one review from me. They probably want to keep it as far away from me as they can, which is a shame because, as always, whilst I might be difficult, I am not afraid to say what I think, as I did with Caddx when I said their behaviour was terrible. But I am always fair, and if a product is good, I will say it's good, but they may not want to risk putting it in my hands, but that doesn't change the fact I'm going to buy it and say exactly what I think anyway. So, yeah, you know, but it will always be open, honest and fair, and I'm never going to treat, and this is an interesting thing, if they say that this is for new users, I'm never going to say, oh, it's like this compared to DJI. I think you've got to compare it to maybe 04 Lite, because 04 Lite is not for pro users. DJI now have been very clever in making a pro ear unit and the standard ear unit. I think the 04 Lite is for new users, general and new users. So is it fair to compare it to the 04 Lite? Yeah, actually, that is a fair comparison. Would it be fair to compare it to Avatar HD? Yes, but in specific scenarios, you know. You've got to balance it up, but you also have to say, this is new, it's still in development, it's still in testing, but you also have to highlight the behavior of the brands, how the companies have behaved with previous products. Have they done everything they said they were going to do with previous products? Largely, Caddx have, but there are areas which were never finished. And I think those areas that were never finished were more because they overpromised than they underdelivered. I think it was more around marketing shot its mouth off and they weren't able to deliver based on that. Not that they intentionally misled people. And I think Caddx's big problem at times is their marketing. But they still make great products for FPV. Someone said earlier, what is best to choose for a new user entering FPV who wants to get into FPV? And it isn't always DJI. You know, if you're going to sit here and ask me the question today, you know, what is the best FPV product for best image quality and long range and penetration? It's DJI. Let's not pretend. But what's the best product for freestyle FPV and bando bashing? Well, actually, that's then not DJI. And why is it not DJI? Well, first of all, they have proprietary fixed lenses that are not easy to replace. Secondly, they are more expensive and parts are not as readily available. Whereas HDZero and Caddx use cameras that are both using standardized lenses. So if you crack a lens on a Caddx or a HDZero camera, you can replace it. You don't have to replace the camera. Caddx and HDZero have multiple VTX options, Caddx especially. And then it comes down to, well, which is the best system from the type of flying I do? Well, HDZero isn't a retransmit system, so it's not going to have the penetration that Avatar HD has on the same RF power, so Avatar might be a better choice. The Avatar HD goggles have HDMI in, HDMI out, as does the HDZero goggles. There are benefits, and if someone said to me, I want the very best, I want a bando bash, I would be saying you want to be looking really closely at Avatar, because I think it makes more sense. As does HDZero. Especially compared to DJI. DJI is not for bando bashing. It is not for anything where you're going to damage hardware. DJI is for casual flyers like me. You can freestyle it if you want to, but you will smash it up really quickly and it will get expensive quickly. Although DJI is very, very resilient. It's more resilient than the other systems, but arguably 04 quite light is quite cheap. It is, but I still think in good frames. Not that, yeah. Look, DJI is actually very resilient, but the hassle factor is bigger with DJI. So, you know, it's not that you can't, but there are benefits to choosing one of the other systems in that regard. You know, Caddx Moonlight doesn't come close to 03, let alone 04. And there are people, oh, Moonlight is good. It ain't even in close when you actually, if you're someone who does this for a living and looks at the video all day, it falls apart. Any release date? My understanding is on this, it is going to be released in the very near future. I don't have a date, but I believe they are being shipped to reviewers now, is my understanding. So expect September at this rate, probably the next 2 weeks. Okay, catching up on the chat. Just got a 3D printer. I want to know if I can print PLA out of the vacuum bag, seal bag for about 7 hours. Yeah? Are you talking about if it's got wet? As long as it hasn't arrived soaking. Look, I leave my PLA around this room all the time, and like I don't treat filaments well. There's TPU been sitting on that printer for, well, you can't see it. There's TPU been sitting on my A1 Mini for months. Look at all the filament. It's just sitting there. There's PLA there. I leave my filament everywhere. There's TPU on the A1 Mini because it sits there permanently. That's my permanent TPU printer. A1 Mini is phenomenal as a TPU printer. Best TPU printer on the market. Honestly. So cheap. Yeah, it will go brittle. I wouldn't say 2 years. It will go. I tell you what, you will notice the HT, the high speed filaments, will go brittle very quickly. Usually, when I've left it in the AMS, and then it cracks, and then I have to tear the AMS down to get it out. It's always, you know what? It'll never break out of the AMS. It'll only ever break in the AMS where I got to tear it apart. Yeah, look, I think filament isn't as sensitive as everyone makes out. Someone just asked, what do I think about the Insta360 Go Ultra? That is a very good question. So, for those who didn't see this week, Insta360 have released a new camera called the Go Ultra. Now, this looks incredibly interesting for FPV, and let me tell you why. It is lighter than the DJI Action 2. It has an SD card slot, it supports 4K 60 and uses the latest chipsets. It is incredibly interesting for FPV. Unfortunately, you then have the price. And that is the problem. They're not selling it without the screen module, and that's probably the issue. It is higher end than we've seen from anything. It does 180 megabits a second bitrate. It looks incredibly good for FPV. But the price, I think, is complicated. The big benefits, though, the big benefits are that you can swap the SD card, and that is a no-brainer. I'm trying to see the back of the little camera. Now, it uses this magnetic piece on the back, so anyone who wants to use this in FPV, they're using one of the latest chipsets as well. It uses this magnetic mount, which you would have to create a custom power mount for. Where is it? Is there in any of the images here? It supports GyroFlow already, and it's already been added into GyroFlow. There's no really good images of the back of the camera. You'll have to see it from one of the YouTube reviews. Yeah, it'll probably need the internet to activate it, but all action cameras do. It's annoying, but it is what it is. I keep seeing people rant about activating action cameras. Come on, guys, let's just get the fuck over this now. You can give a fake email address from Gmail. You don't have to give your name details. Stop whinging about it. You have to activate every phone before you can fricking use it. And whilst technically, yes, that's a different thing, let's really get to grip on this a little bit. You can use a fake email address and a fake address, and it doesn't change the fact of anything. You do not have to give them any data. And anyone saying though they can data mine you, you can literally generate an email, an alias email in Gmail, use that and never use it again. So come on, let's cut the bullshit on this. It's not, it's a minuscule problem. Brands want to activate this way. It's annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. The world has far bigger problems. Thing becomes a brick if factory reset doesn't stop activation. Activation is one time forever. No DJI product has ever gone back to be reactivated. Not after firmware updates, not after resets. Activation is one time only ever. I don't know on Insta. I'll tell you this week because I have an Insta360 X5 coming. Let's cut the beer. It's a non-thing, and you can. It's minor. it would always be better if you didn't have to activate, but it's, come on. There are benefits, there are downsides. DJI, and I'll say this, this week, this is my second 360. We'll come on to that in a minute. We'll finish on this and come on to that. So, the Insta looks incredibly interesting. Price, though. Yes, the price is heavy. The price is heavy. This could be the best action camera for DJI, for FPV, until DJI release what's next. What we don't know is what the DJI Mini seems to be. And yeah, but I think it's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Now, as I've said, I do have the Insta360 X5 coming this week. Insta reached out to me and asked me, would I be interested in trying the X5? I said yes. I have agreed to make a review of the camera, an overview and a review of the camera from my perspective. That is the conditions that I have on me. That's it. And I'm looking forward to trying it. And I tell you why I'm looking to trying it. I have to say, I really, really like this camera. So the DJI Osmo 360. For those who didn't see, I had a little accident with mine this week. Let me find the images. Mine fell over whilst I was getting set up. It caught me out, unfortunately, as Sod's Law does. Yes, I love it when people post things like, you should be more careful. How stupid was it to do that? You should have used the real tripod. You should have used this. I was in the middle of setting up. It's what's called a fucking accident. Accidents happen. That's reality. That's what's called an accident. Let's stop with the you should have this. I don't care. Fucking, you should have done this. You should have done that. Proper tripod. Oh, you should have put a stone on it. Oh, you shouldn't have been using it there. Why were you on Mars? Oh, why did you put it there? Oh, why? You don't use it for things. I don't care. It's a fucking tool, and it fell over, and it got broke. Right? And I ended up scratching up the lens. I cannot blame the camera. The camera fell over. For those who wondered where the Mars reference came from, because the beach I was at, it looks like Mars. You can see there. So that was it, that it fell over. So yes, it scratched up the lens quite badly, and yes, it was visible in the footage. However, I have to say, DJI care. So I bought this camera with care refresh. Well, not this camera, but that camera with care refresh. On Thursday, at about 1 p.m. on Thursday, I rose the ticket for the replacement. I chose to go with the express option on DJI Care, and I am making a video about this. For those who don't know with DJI, they have two options, the express or the standard. The replacement cost for the camera was 24 quid. However, they also have an express option where you put a card hold of £205 on for them to send you the replacement before you've sent the other one back. Think of it a bit like Apple. Apple do the same. So I opted for that. So 1 p.m. on Thursday, I rose it. The replacement was here by 11 a.m. on Friday morning. Less than 24 hours. I had the new replacement camera in my hands. I then shipped back on Friday the old one, but less than 24 hours later. But you do have to put a £205 card hold on if you want to do that swap. Alternatively, you don't have to do that. You can just send it back to them and then they'll send you one, usually in 3 to 5 days. Not in America. No, that was in the UK. So I have to say that service was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Camera arrived brand new and sealed. I'm going to show it in a video. I'm making a video about this. Had to reactivate it. Can you imagine having to activate your camera twice? How angry would you be if you had to do that? But yeah, that is amazing service. Genuinely amazing service. Now, as for the Osmo 360, I love this camera. I actually really like this camera. DJI software on the PC is complete junk, but I really like the camera. I tell you what I do like about it as well is, for me as a content creator, it's almost like having a camera operator with me now, because I can do things I couldn't do before. And I'll show you this, right? And it's stuff like this that I just couldn't do when I didn't have someone with me or something like that. And now I have the ability to sort of, it's almost have a camera operator with me. And here you'll see, because I can use it for doing stuff like this, right? So this is gonna be the Chupito video. So what you will see is from here, throttle is raised. We will get ready to launch it. Knock it twice to start the motor up. And you can use it like a camera operator. And that's not just the first one. I'll show you another video now in a moment, because there's another one I probably should show you as well. Where is the third one? No, it's probably not that one. It's not that one. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. Where is it hiding? Oh, I know where it is. It is 2 seconds. I think I saved it to... Where did I save that other one to? It'll come now. Weird. It's not where I anticipated. Let me check something. In the wrong folder is what it is. Here we go. Let me show you another one. Has that pasted in? It has. Let me just refresh the folder. It should now appear. Yes, it has. So, for stuff like this, right, where you're trying to film on your own, And this is the 360. So I'm panning it with the 360. And yes, the fence got in the way. I'll talk about the Chupito in a minute. Just for those who want to see that again, that was not intended. Yes. It survived fine. It was fine. Wasn't anticipated. I came in a bit fast, and then I thought it'll be fine. I'll glide down. I cut the throttle, and then I dipped the nose. I tell you something with the Chupito, Christ, it gains speed when you dip the nose. And yes, dipping the nose. I know someone was telling me earlier, you know, someone was saying they learning to fly. You know, you don't, dipping the nose is never a good idea. I know, but it was a wing, and I just thought I'll dip the nose and it'll come down, and Christ, it gains some speed when it comes down. So yeah, I was thinking, so I cut the throttle, and then I just dipped the nose to try and get it down, and then it just freaking sped up a lot faster than I anticipated. And it just, yeah, she gains speed fast. It is a fast little quad. Bird. Yeah, well, I don't. You don't want to see what I did to my AR wing. I blew my AR wing up on the beach, and I mean, blew my AR wing up on the beach. But yes, that was. It's my glider doesn't even. That's not a landing. My glider doesn't even bruise the glass. Yeah, it's technically a landing. You can come down. Glider's different. This thing's got pace. It's yeah, it's but yes, so I genuinely am sort of falling. No, that was goggles. I genuinely really like the 360. I am beginning to really just like having the 360 around. No, I didn't laminate it. That put a small cut in the foam, but nothing else. Oh, my AR Wing Pro, and I mean completely destroyed itself in an auto launch. That went wrong, and I mean destroyed itself. I've got footage somewhere, and it's fucking everywhere. It just went bang. But yeah, I'm still getting used to landing with it. I haven't flown wings a lot for a while, and I'm still getting used to landing with it. She moves around a lot. One thing I will say with the Chupito is, and look, it's a good time to move on to it. It is here. It is next to me. Yes, it's fine for those who haven't seen. It's fine. If you want to know what damage that fence did, all it did, and I don't know how, I'm going to have to focus the camera. It's put this slit in the foam here. I need to just glue it. That's all it did, is put a slight slit in the foam there. But it didn't even take a chunk out of it. Definitely got away with that. But yeah, she's there. She's fine. What's the all-up weight? I need to put it on a set of scales, actually. We'll do that in a second. She's there. She's fine. I have to say, I really, really like this wing a lot. I'm finishing the build video. It's finished. I'm finishing the review. What I can tell you, TBS have got absolutely right with this is how easy it is to get up and running out the box. Because they've done most of the pre-programming of the flight controller and everything, it is as plug and play as it gets. It's pre-flashed with iNav, and I haven't touched the settings. I just fly it as it is. That's how it comes. Weight-wise, I need to find my scales. When I see them, we will weigh it. For those who are saying, it does move around quite a lot. We'll make a plastic lower fin. Yeah, I think it could definitely do with a plastic one down here. Plastic one. In Aero PLA would be ideal for that. What I should have done, what I might do, is I am going to order a kit, because I was sent this by TBS. I'm going to order a kit, and I will 3D scan the bottom wing. And then we can then, why not catch it line of sight? Not really my thing. I don't catch quads. I don't really want to catch planes. A lot of the time I'm flying with places where if it goes wrong, it's in the water or it's in the sea. I might give it a try one day next time I do it. But I think I will order another kit, and I'll 3D scan the bottom. Now, what I want to show you is so where are we here? I'm looking for the first one. Just trying to get this right. There we go. So I am going to show you. Here we go. Let me get it from the. So this is the very first auto launch. The very first. Soccer net. A big landing keep net would be cool. That was the very first auto launch. Very first flight. Drag shoot. It's a quick little iNav auto launch. First flight. Straight up. Just worked. Straight up. Tell you what, the auto launch settings are a little high. I need to take them down a bit. I think it jumps to Hey Kofi, put the push rod to the site closest to the server, that way you have more resolution on the pitch. Glad you like it. Look, it flies very well, it moves around a bit, it's a little plane, so any wind, look, she is getting pushed around a little bit, but it does fly just out the box. Just went every flight out the box, tossed it, it went. Catch it with a wire sheep fence. Yeah. I was doing some basic setups in this. This was the very first flight where I was just testing some stuff, just making sure it was behaved. I was in angle, and then we move into acro. I was going through stages in this flight. So I moved, we then moved it into acro, just getting used to it. It does move around a little bit. iNav auto land. Yeah, I might install. What we do then have is O4 stabilized of that. So I did put it through GyroFlow to have a look at how that would look. And this is the 03. I put 03 in this, not 04. So this is with 03 through GyroFlow. What I will say is this. Rocksteady has some trouble with it. GyroFlow smooths it out beautiful. I would recommend flying with wide mode, non-stabilized, and GyroFlow your footage if you want to use it, and I'll show you why in a minute. Rocksteady seems to be struggling to keep a handle on the footage at times. But this was just some of the early test flights that you can see there. 03 does still look incredibly nice. I was doing some tuning. If I come down now into day 2 flights, day 2 flights weren't great weather. Day 2 was a lot murkier, and I'll show you some. I haven't tried 04 yet. 04 might be a little bit better, depending on the wind. So this was just the second day of testing. Just getting used to it. And I'll show you some of the footage from today, where it was a bit blower, a bit windier. I haven't tried the Mojito. I'm going to probably get one in to try. I'm going to order one in. This is DVR from on board the SD on 03, and then this was with Rocksteady. So this has Rocksteady turned on, so it is stabilizing it. This was not a great day, as you can see in the light. Yeah, mine is there. Then today was a very different day. So to give you an idea of today's weather. Oh no, not that one. Probably this one. No, not that one. Must be this one. That's goggles. I don't want goggles. Try this one. There we go. So this is 03 today in different weather. You can see there's a little bit of floatiness on Rocksteady today. You sort of get this. I've noticed a little bit of wobble on it. And in the goggles, it didn't look any worse. This was the first flight. Let me go to the second or third is probably the better one. You get a little bit of float. No, it's not 8S. It's 6S. These are Chupito flights from today. Yeah. This is the Chupito. From today, flying over. It is a little bit windy even out in the water. It's not heavy wind. Flight time depends on the battery. I've been using a couple of older 3S, 6Ss. The kit, the electronic kit is coming out in the next week. So their production on the electronic kit now. Where was I coming over the water? Where is it right there? This isn't the one I'm thinking of. It was a lovely day today. Don't drop the wing into the drink. I'm depending on the battery. I need to check. These were 1300 milliamp hour 6Ss. I'll need to look at the goggles footage. 5 to 7 minutes is what I was seeing, but these are old batteries. 04 looks phenomenal. 03, sorry, even in this light. Yeah, 4S 21700s. I think you'll see we'll go up by the water's edge, I think, now. I would just stabilize in rock steady, is what I would do. And what was the other one I was going to show? Was it this one? Yeah, I was quite low there. I am really impressed with this wing. And I tell you what, look, it's not that it's anything magical. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the best wing in the world. I'll hop over to goggles footage. Let's hop over to goggles. You hop over to goggles footage. There we go. So you can see the goggles footage. So look, it does move around a little bit. You will get some movement on it. Now, there is a bit of a breeze coming up here. Even though you're not seeing it, there is a bit of a breeze. It's always funny flying wings compared to quads. You're used to quads just being straight and everything. And then you get onto a wing and you're just like everything's... Yeah, I really like this wing. I really like the wing, I'll be honest. But it does move around a bit. It's a small plane. You've got to take that into account. It is a small plane. Wing plane. But how good. I just want to go back. I just want to go back to... That was 04, so that should be this flight. Just right there. Where was that? I want to just show that. Where was that in the footage? It might be in the... yeah, it might be in the second half. I just want to find that again. Yes. Was it this one? Let's have a look. Just how good 03 looks. Needs a bit of color grading, right? But how good 03. This is 03. It's not even 04. I put 03 in it, right? Because I got a bunch of unused 03 air units. So I thought, well, if I'm going to put something in, I'm going to put 03 in. I think this is the same bit. Just how good 03 looks. Really does. It really, really does. Honestly, that I am genuinely extremely impressed with how well it flew out the box. That's simple. One of the fastest wings I've ever put together. Not because it was magically no, normal. This is normal. I will grade it a little bit. This is normal. It does look quite flat. I noticed it was a little bit flat. Oh, yeah. Look, when you come into... There are points where you come up and look at high level. You know, I think it's in the first couple of flights. When you go into the first couple of flights, when you're flying up I was flying up chasing a boat at one point in this footage. I'm trying to find it. Where is it? I was chasing a boat up. I can't remember where it was. And I was chasing it. And when you just look at how this looks, it's phenomenal. You know, when you look at that image there. So, look. I have 2 videos coming on it. There is a full hour-and-a-half build video coming. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it is a complete step-by-step guide, because I filmed me assembling it and I talk about it, and it's about an hour-and-a-half, and I talk to you about all of the differences, some mistakes I made. And Kofi, one of the mistakes I did make was I didn't fit the rods on the horns before fitting it. I should have done that. As you've said there, if I have the rods further down, I'll have more dexterity. Now I've got to figure out how I do that. Is how I now can get the rods further down. I went second from the top. Are you recommending going in the lowest ones? Or how far up are you recommending, Kof? I made some mistakes there. Other than that, though, honestly, it's a piece of put together. But there is an hour-and-a-half build guide coming, and then I'm going to go my experience with the first flight. Do you have to fly? Learn how to press the ELRS button. This is running Crossfire. And then inside, for those who want to see the battery bay, how I ended up doing it, a couple of little things I've done in here, and I've got some tidying up to do. There is tidying up to do in here. I added in some of the TBS battery grip that I had, because I wanted to just stop the battery moving around. That helps. You've got O3 jammed up at the front there. And then you've got the flight controller. But the only thing I haven't really tidied up yet, I put the GPS there. So I wanted the GPS right under the middle of the quarter right from the ESC. You've got the GPS there. Just refocus there. There you go. We've then got the flight control and everything there. The only thing I need to sort out is the USB. I don't know where I'm going to put the USB. At the moment, I've just got it hanging out on a fly lead, and it's annoying me. So I need to just find somewhere for that to go. So you're able to buy this with everything except the VTX camera and battery. Yes. No, it doesn't have to be Crossfire. You can absolutely use this with Express LRS. Truth be told, I chose to use Crossfire on it for the build video. To be fair, and let me be crystal clear, there were 0 conditions on this being sent to me by the TBS team. They basically sent me an email that I didn't respond to. Trappy reached out and said, we want to send you this wing. And I replied, and then we think. However, as TBS have sent it, I have TBS products. There's nothing wrong with Crossfire. I still use Crossfire. I decided to put Crossfire in. It's a TBS product. Why not? You can, though, use Express LRS. You can use Free Sky. You can use Ghost. You can use whatever you want. It has standardized inputs. It's all fine. You can do what you want with it. You can put Express LRS 900. The team, I don't think, is going to be unhappy with me saying that. Your choice, guys. I chose to put Crossfire in. What I will say, though, is this. For the integrated antenna, you need a really long antenna cable. The only thing I'm a bit concerned of, and let me show you this, my receiver is now here. Trapped under there. Overhead, overhead, overhead. I basically can't reach that receiver I come in and show you it. God, that's dark. That is so dark. There's my receiver, right? I basically cannot get that receiver any further forward than that. So if I need to press the bind button, I'm going to have a problem. If you're going to put the antenna in the back, try to get one with a long enough coax that you can get your receiver in the middle. So if you're ordering, order an antenna with a long cable. I was sort of sitting here going, this is the standardized TBS one. The standardized TBS one will only get you to basically the front of the wing there. Right to the front there. So that's something to check. I've also now set up the control for I've also set up the control for the power on the switch now, because it will overheat quickly on the ground. And I had a really annoying thing with DJI 3, and I've not had this for a long time. DJI 3, if it is in overheat state when you arm, it doesn't record on the air unit ever. So I did 4 flights on the first day, and only one of them recorded on board the VTX, because every time I took off after that, the air unit was in its overheating state and it refused to trigger recording on the air unit. I only have goggles footage, which is really annoying, and I mean really annoying. So when I look at my goggles footage, if you look at... No, that's not it. If you look at this one, which is the second takeoff, and I arm, notice, right? So when I arm, aircraft processors overheat. It's not recording on the It's not recording on the bloody air side. It's recording on the goggles, but because I had the aircraft processor overheat warning behind me, it didn't record on the air side. Really, really annoying. What it should do, because look how quickly this went away, right? So I took off, auto launch finished, wait for it, I'll move to the side, let me get to the side, wait for it, 20 seconds in, 30 seconds in, gone. 25 seconds in, the overheat is gone. But what I wish it had done is then triggered recording. I wish it had then triggered recording. I want to put an internal fan. Absolutely space for that. You could absolutely do in that. You absolutely could. Really annoying. Really annoying. Such a frustrating issue. So, let me catch up. Kofi, because what did Kofi say? Kofi, did you reply to my mess? Because I asked him about make flying wings great. Many people in the hobby are bored. Honestly, look, I am going to say this now. This arrived Thursday morning. I did the full unboxing and setup. Friday morning this arrived? Friday or Thursday? It arrived in the morning. I did the unboxing that day. Setup Friday. Arrived Friday, did the unboxing video straight away because I just recorded it whilst it was on the bench. Saturday, I did its first flight. This has been the quickest and easiest wing to get in the air I have ever had. That isn't because TBS have done anything magical. What it is a lot of good decisions coming together to make it simple. Decision number 1. Quick and easy to put together. You glue in the servos, you mount the stabilizers, you fit your electronics. Quick and easy decision number 2. The electronics slot in place, basically pre-configured. Simple option 3. Put the lid on, put the battery on, set your radio up, you're in the air. And that's what made it quick and easy. And it just worked. First flight, It just worked. It's that simple. I've flown it every day since I've had it. Pit mode is a good option, yeah. But you can control the power output for the VTX on the flight controller. So it's not, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a magical product and they've done all of these crazy things well. It's not that it redefines flying. It's not that it changes. It's some magical new design. What it is a lot of little decisions that have been done well, that have come together. And she's a tough little bird. I thought today when I hit that fence, I'm screwed. I actually thought I've killed it. And it's only a small cut, war screw. I'll glue that later. She's fine. Honestly. I am literally... It's cheap too. Yeah, honestly. It has got me excited for wings again. I tell you as well, it fits in your backpack nicely. For anyone who has... Something I'll show you, because I did it this week. Anyone who has... let me show you. Anyone who has an FPV backpack... Let me show you this as well. No. No, let me just find it. Here it is. It fits in the back of your backpack with the strap around it on the top really nicely. I know it's a silly thing, right? But it does fit on the backpack really nicely. And I just, yeah, I quite like that. It's like, toss it on, job done. And it's a little, I walked massively around a huge area of a beach with it like this. And it's just it. Looks like a jetpack. Yeah, it just slots in the top. Really cool. Regarding the Chupitos, is it more important that it flies well or survives a crash well? Equal measures, and it has done both. I genuinely, I'm not saying there are not other great wings out there. There are. Here's what TBS have done bloody well here. They've done what I said. I said ages ago, and I'm not taking credit, it's not me, they did it. I'd love an easy-to-use wing that anyone can put together who've got a bit of experience. They don't have to mess around, and they can just toss it in the air and it works. That's what the Chupito is. Literally, that's what it is. So, it's not perfect. No product's perfect, but I really like it. If you haven't seen the first video, you want to see the flight controller, go take a look at that. It's a nice little bit of kit. I probably need to do a video on the flight controller on its own, actually. Completed the Goblin. I haven't got many wings. I got a T3, which is fine. It's okay. I can't do a comparison. I'm not your guy for a comparison. I'm your guy to say, what you'd have noticed is I've made the content on this is how I make content for quads. So I did an unboxing where I talked about the product and have a good look over it. I didn't just sit here and show you it and go, oh, here's... I don't look. A comment that was made to me was on my Discord. It was nice to see you didn't just sit there and go, oh, here's the new wing and it's got this, this, and this. You know, we went through it. We looked at everything in detail. iNav is what comes on the FC. In the build video, I go deep into all of the iNav settings and what I've changed. All of that's in there. The whole lot is in there. I probably need to do a slight correction if I need to. Kofi, can you message me? Are you on Discord? Can you just confirm on this horns thing? Because I now need to figure out how I get it further down, and I might need to add that into the video. So, can you lowest on the servo side, because you don't need that much throw. Okay, lowest on the servo side. Okay, I assume that's your response. Yeah, iNav. Comes pre-flashed with iNav, pre-configured. The only thing I had to do was change the controller order. For some reason, it was set. I'm always set to ATER, whichever way around it is, and it was set to something else. I had to set the modes up. It's pre-flashed with iNav. It's quite tame on the stabilized rates. I've upped it a little bit on the stabilized. Yeah, there's Atom RC Dolphin. There's loads of good quads out there. The bit I think I really liked about this quads, there's loads of great wings and planes out there. There are probably better wings and planes out there. There are better, worse ones. There are better ones. What I did like is it just worked out the box. There are bits that aren't right though, perfect. Just to put balance in here. So the GPS module doesn't come with a pre-wired cable to just plug it into the flight controller. So you will need to cut one of the harnesses and make up a wire for the GPS. Because the GPS comes with a plug on one side and wires on the other. They give you some spare cables. So all I had to do was cut one. I think I got the other half of it here, if I'm honest. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. They give you like a DJI one. All I did was cut it in half and then rewire the plug to fit. I did have to take the wires out of the plug. So the GPS isn't plug and play. You need to wire it for the flight controller. You can't solder direct because there aren't pads on the wire controller. You could, in theory, solder on the GPS side. No compass. No compass, just an M10 GPS. And you need to check your receiver wiring is 100%. Some of their early cables, I don't think this will hit end users. Some of the test ones had the bad wiring on the receiver. But other than that, what else do they have to wire? No, everything else is plug and play. Everything else is plug and play. So your GPS, you'll have to wire. That's what I will say. VTOL it. Yeah, you don't want compass on. So, yeah. I don't want this really to turn into a TBS advert. But it came Friday. I flew it Saturday. I flew it Sunday. I'm flying it every day. I'm going to fly it tomorrow. That tells you everything you need to know. My next things, I want to look at lithium ion. I've got cells. I have cells. We have batteries. We have 21700s. One thing I need, let's get the scales because I need to do two things actually. So, where are my scales? They are here. So. I've been flying this with some quite old, because I had some logic in my head that, hey, I can reuse some of my old 6S lipos that aren't great for quads anymore because we're not powering 4 motors. We're only going to be powering 1 motor, so they'll be fine. Maybe not. One of them is fine, the other 3 are junk. But I did think, a couple of my aged lipos will be fine. So I was flying it with these 6S 1200 milliamp hours. They recommend 13 or 15, I can't remember. What are these coming at? Let's get it into English. Not this nonsense. So these are 216 grams. So What are we thinking? 4S or 6S? If we want to go 4S, and I haven't flown it on 4S, so I don't know how well it behaves on 4S. I've forgotten already what that was. 215, 216. Okay, so we're going to be adding a little bit of weight on a 4S for 4 amp. Six is going to be 416, so we're putting 200 grams on it. 4S, I think. TBS recommended. So, if we go to TBS's website, the 6S will fit. The 6S will fit. Absolutely, that 6S will fit. So, if we go to the website, kits, Chupito, what are they recommending on battery? 4 to 6S, 800 to 1800 milliamp hour. They don't say weight. What's in the manual battery-wise? Battery. They're not recommending a battery. I wonder what it would be like. I don't know if you're going to be able to balance it. That's the... Ah, Kofi, 180 to 270. Okay, so 270 max. There we go. Kofi's gone with the 270. So, we could go 4S, basically. We could just go 4S. Just! Without any wrap. Flight time. So, depending on how I killed... Yeah, you can go 3S down to... Yeah, you're going to add in another 30 grams on... Yeah. Flight time, what was I getting? On the 6S... But these batteries aren't great, so I just need to warn you on that. What did I get on the first flight today? Trying to just check. Nine minutes. 9. If you look here on the fence, we're at what? 8 minutes 59. We hit 9 minutes. Ready for it? Oops. Straightening up, and I was like, oh, bollocks. Yeah, that 4S might be a little bit heavy. Haven't flown it on 4S. I don't know what it's like. New. The damage from that fence was simply A little scar there. Tiny scar. Tiny scar. It bounced off. And it bounced off with some force as well. For those who saw, as I showed, I will show that one more time. For those who didn't see the external footage. But these are all batteries as well. Shit. You hear my thoughts. Remember, these aren't new packs. These are... That was the DJI 360, yes. That was the... I wouldn't anticipate... See, here's what happened. I came around, I thought, I'm too fast, I should bail. I didn't bail, and then thought, cut the motor. I dipped the nose and thought it'll come down, and the problem with this thing is the second you dip the nose, Christ, it gains quite a bit of speed, and then I overshot. Kofi has said, with a fresh success 1550 on Bible Cross, crushing 70 kilometers, 35 round trip. That's why I don't really use LiPs on this platform. It's really efficient little paint. Yeah, these are old batteries. I'm running some older successes through it. I'll have to run a set of new packs through. And it broke into a few pieces. But yes, that was the Osmo 360. It looks really good. It does look very good. Ooh, check the Flywoo Explorer Molly Cell 45Bs. These are 45Bs. Yeah. Cheaper than doing your own. Flywoo Explorer. Let's have a look at that, shall we? Have a look on Flywoo. PB50s, yeah. PB30s. See, PB30 still giving you 3,000 milliamp hour. So what we got here? Go away. PB45s. Here we go. So what's the weight on this? Oh, bugger off. 196 grams for the 4S3. Yeah, 294. Yeah. What's the price? Getting batteries in the UK is a pain in the ass. What is... So if I look at 1500, I need some new lipos. Some of my... I've killed a bunch of packs on quads. I'm not getting great flight time on any of my lipos now. So what's this? Never heard of Onbo. Anyone heard of Onbo before? So let's try to find... What are we after? 15, 1550. Let's go for 15 or 1550. Dodgecom, 1550, 31 quid. Any weight on these? Dogcom, not Dodge, Dog. 260. Okay. Batteries, 6S, LiPo. The FPV battery. I've got some of these. These are... I wonder what that would fit like. 6S 2000. What's the weight on that? Look at that. 325 grams. That's gotta be worth a look. These, I've got some of these the FPV batteries already. For those who haven't seen these, right, let me grab one. But I haven't got one of them. Okay. These are really small LiPos in the UK. So let me show you one. I've got some of the smaller 6Ss. Right, let me show you this. So these came out a while back, right? And they are really small. If you look at them in comparison, look at it. So this is a pizza, 1200 milliamp hour pizza. This is a 1500 milliamp hour, apparently. Right? These batteries are tiny. The FPV, they are really small. And they've been okay. They are tiny in comparison. That's 4S, mate, not 6S. Where's the other 4S's? Compare it to other 4s. Find the pizza 4. Oh, I can't find them. Oh no, here it is. Sorry, not the 6, the 4s. I was comparing it to the Pizza 4S. There you go, not the 6. But it's still smaller. It is still much smaller than the Pizza 4S. Honestly, when you put them side by side, they are really small. That is an interesting battery. 2000 milliamp hour. That has got to be worth a look. That has really got to be worth a look. 325 grams. What was the... what did Kofi say the maximum was? I forgot what he said. I need to save all of Kofi's posts. Anyone remember what he said? What did he say the maximum was? 290. Ah, that's a sucker. 270. Okay. What we got 1500s? Any 1500s here? The tattoos are usually quite small, but they're so freaking expensive. I don't like the fun flies. I've had problems. 270. So that Dodgecom. That's got to be worth a look. Dogcom. $260. That's about the maximum. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Internet of Things dishwashers requiring an account to use all the features? That's how it is. If you buy, look, the manufacturer could. Look, if I want those features, then I'll pay for them. But I'm also educated enough to understand that Chances are, if it goes out of production in 5 years' time and the company doesn't exist anymore, those new features won't exist. But that's no different to many other things. I think the problem is education, not... You cannot expect a product that has online functionality to work forever if the company no longer exists, or should they support that forever? Where the problem is people and companies don't advertise it well. I like Dogcom. Yeah, that Dogcom probably worth a look. Definitely. Right, okay. Yeah, but there's a difference with the Insta360 activation. That is one-time activation that doesn't require further needs, as far as I'm aware. Same as DJI. DJI, you activate once, you will never need that activation again. You never need to go online with those devices again. Never. Never, ever, ever. You never have to put the devices online again. That's why I don't have a problem with DJI's activation. You never, ever, 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 ever have to put it online. If you never want to update the firmware, you never, ever have to do it. The app doesn't even require online functionality. You could offline it forevermore. So that's why I don't care about activation, because I just don't. It's not a problem. You can use a fake account. And it's actually quite simple. If people don't want to buy a DJI product because they have to activate it, then don't fucking buy it. It's quite simple. It's like, just don't do it. Don't whinge about it, just don't do it. Would you consider using mechanical damping grease for the screws to reduce vibrations? If you're talking about on a frame, that's more Chris Ross's territory, but no. Rosser has a video on his lube or whatever it was. Rosser likes to lube. Was the name of the video, wasn't it? I like to lube my screw. Wasn't that Ross's video on this subject? Might have been a different channel I was watching that on. But the reality is there are things that may make a difference on paper, technically, that have zero bearing in the performance in the real world. Technically, on paper, they are better, but it doesn't mean quantifiably in real world it's any different. I'm going to need a VPN for Chris Ross's channel. Yeah. What should really happen is then look, internet devices is a mess because no one wants to say the unspeakable thing. What the unspeakable thing is, we're going to give you this functionality for as long as we can be bothered to do it, and when we don't give it to you, we're going to turn it off. I've lived through it in the UK. There's loads of smart TVs in the UK that no longer work properly. What should happen is there should be a minimum requirement of, say, 5 years, with it being strictly known that any Internet of Things device will have a minimum of 5 years functionality, but it may not work after that. But that should never stop the use of the product for its prime function. Right, guys, if you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat. I'm just going to check my Discord because it was pinging off earlier. Yeah, Sneaky. So he saw the video on the. He said, I need to update. You can choose the iNav FOD. Yeah, it came. So it comes with. My goggles are the latest firmware, but it comes with the compatibility mode set, not the full mode. I didn't change it for the videos. I didn't do it on purpose. Any update on release data for the Avata 3 and Neo? No, nothing at all. The Neo 2 seems to have gone quiet. DJI are releasing a new Pro microphone this week where they're going to give you Pro features such as timecode and sort of mesh networking. However, they're going to take away the one Pro feature that pros absolutely need is the bloody lav port. So they're going to release a new Mic 3 where they're going to give you timecode, they're going to give you mesh networking, and they're going to take away the one thing that you really need is the bloody lav. Because nothing anyone wants more on the telly is than to see the microphone with DJI's branding sitting on the front, because what else would DJI want apart from that? Now, I have to say, the Mic 2, this product is freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love this product. I love this product more than possibly any other filming piece of equipment I have. Yet, they've now gone, we're going to take away the lav port for pro users. I'm not going to use the word. There you go, DJI. Yes, Bamboo is releasing, apparently. I don't know anything official. There is a H2 coming, a new H2, which is single head, which a lot of people are excited about. There's also a lot of excitement about this new Snapmaker printer. So Bamboo have... Let me just find this. So Bamboo have a release coming this week, which is in a big way, which is on the 26th. So that is going to be the single head version of the H2, which is going to be very interesting. There is a lot of excitement, though, around this thing, which is the Snapmaker U1. And I sort of glossed over this at first because I have reviewed 2 Snapmaker printers already, and the product, the hardware, has been phenomenal. However, their software hasn't been great. This thing, though, is going to be based off Clipper. And now I'm suddenly extremely interested. And as it's going to be based on Clipper, we have a proper multi-head, multi-material printer. What I don't know, though, is how it's going to react to TPU, and I haven't seen anyone discussing it. Has anyone... Ooh. Tom's Hardware. TPU, where's the word? Extra wide tubing is a blessing and a curse. On one hand, the tubes are wide enough that soft TPU slides straight through without binding. On the other hand, your filament is brittle, it breaks off inside. The filament really impressed me was TPU, which has been getting more difficult to print as machines get more complex because the filament path on the U1 is extremely basic. It had no issues with soft TPU and was even able to feed it automatically, which means that thing could be interesting. That probably means I need to place an order for this on the Kickstarter. Because that means for this price, right, you can get it on the pre-order Kickstarter, back this project, and they're probably only doing the Kickstarter because they want advertising. Come on. What are the options available? $7.99 plus dollars plus $50 shipping. That's 600 quid for a multi-head, 4-head printer capable of TPU. Now this is basically a Prusa XL Mini. And here's the absolute joke of this situation. How the hell have Prusa not done this first? Considering they made the XL, how on earth has Prusa not
what is the biggest
done
challenge
this before anyone else? Again, how have they once again let the market get out from under them? Now, this printer is very much a cross between a Bamboo XP and a Prusa XL. It is very much a cross between the two when you look at its design. But a 4-head print. It's not Bowden, it is direct drive, it just uses feed tubes. But this means you can do proper multicolor TPU printing. 4-color TPU printing. You can't do dual color TPU printing on the H2D because you're going to use TPU in one head. You can do multi-material, but you can't do multicolor flexibles. This can do multicolor flexibles. And in theory, that means you can do full multicolor TPU. Print plate size is bigger than the P1S. I think it's 350. I think it's 250. No, where's the bed size? The bed size is shown. It's big, slightly bigger than the... Yes, it's got to have heater and power, so it swaps the nozzles one at a time. Let me just get through it shows on the spec. Yeah, only 4, but come on. There's a... And look, you're probably about to see an explosion of printers around this because Clipper has its full multi-head setup now built in. By the way, this is going to be based, as I said, on Clipper, and it's going to use Orca Slicer as well. And there is a... Look, if this was running... Because Snapmaker, we're using Marlin, right? And Marlin is like... And their software has always been a bit jank. However, the fact this appears to be running public Clipper is a very cool thing. But how have they done this? How have they done this before Prusa? How has Prusa not been the first to bring in a small multi-print head printer? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Core XY. It's 270 by 270 by 270 instead of 254. It's looking incredibly interesting. It genuinely is. Now I've learned a lot more about it, it is definitely looking interesting. Price, so it's in Kickstarter at the moment, so the kits that are available are as follows. $799 plus 50 shipping is the 20% discount kit. So it's going to be about $1,000 is what it's going to be. Yeah, $999. It says it includes taxes and duties for, but I don't know what this will mean for tariffs. But it does say taxes and duties for UK, US, AU, excludes taxes and duties for the rest of the markets. 730. Yeah, you must have done well. Yeah, you probably had the 25% off, not the 20, didn't you? I'm tempted to jump in at this. I am actually seriously tempted to jump in at this. Snapmaker are a known brand. You know, they've delivered printers already. Shipping November 25. It does. Genuinely, it looks extremely tempting. The only thing that's holding me back, I think you're about to see a whole slew of printers coming like this, because this isn't the only one I know of. I know of about 4 or 5 others coming as well. They are not alone. And now Clipper is really pushing this multi-material side. You may see multiple brands. Let's be realistic. How long before Creality do one of these now? Come on. It's inevitable. Creality must be working on one of these. They must be working on one of these. The Bondtech system is out as well, which is very similar. And I do wonder how long. I've seen like 2 or 3 others advertised on Facebook. Look, it's not for everyone. At the end of the day, if you don't need multicolor TPU printing, then it's not for you. You probably don't need it. Or you don't need proper multi-material printing. If you don't need that, it's not for you. You know, I would still say, if you said to me, I only ever want to print single filaments, I'd still say buy a P1S. And I'd ask what your budget is. And if you said to me, my budget's £700-800, I would push anyone today still into a P1S. If someone said to me, I want the cheapest printer possible for printing small parts for FPV, go and buy an A1 Mini. Because the A1 Mini is phenomenal. I don't really recommend the A1. The A1 I don't really recommend. I've not tried it. I think if you get the A1, you should get the P1S. That's my opinion. There is still a vast price difference though. But I do think, I still believe the P1S is phenomenal. If you want something a lot more complex, the H2D is a very interesting printer. It is an incredibly interesting printer. the H2D now is my go-to for everyday printing. It's basically replaced my P1S for everyday printing. But I could do everything I mostly do on the P1S. The P1, I still say the P1S is fucking phenomenal. Honestly, I still say the P1S is absolutely phenomenal. P1S combo 447 at the moment. Wow, that is incredible. So yeah. Right, I want to say a big thank you to Mike Bundy for the $20 super chat. And we also had Roger Ritchie become a new member of the channel as well. Right, guys, we've gone long tonight. I'm going to wrap this one up there. I also want to say, if you like to support the channel, please do consider checking out the link to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. Big thanks to Stu for sending the info over. I've gone a bit longer than I planned. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you guys soon. Later.